two of the biggest names in British insurance. Both pay a dividend that makes a savings account look a bit silly, and one of them pays you noticeably more than the other. Most people stop right there. They take the bigger number and they buy it. But there's a single figure that actually decides which of these two dividends is the safer one to own. It isn't the yield, it isn't the share price. I hold both of these stocks. And just so we're clear, this is me sharing my own investing journey, not advice, so always do your own research. So which one has the dividend you can actually rely on? And is the bigger yield on the other worth the risk you take to get it? It all comes down to a single number. Let's go and find it. So, Aviva first. Before you can size it up against anything, you have to know what it actually is. It's one of Britain's oldest companies. Its roots run back to 1797, older than the railways. Today it's a leaner FTSE 100 financial services group than it used to be. Built around three markets it knows well: the UK, Ireland and Canada. It insures lives and company pensions, covers your car and home, and manages money through Aviva investors. So the first question's the obvious one. What does it actually pay you? Well, Aviva's yield is high. Legal & General's is higher still. And here's the trap. The obvious move is to glance at those two numbers, take the bigger one and call it a day. More income, job done. You might be thinking exactly that right now, but a yield is only worth something if the company can actually keep paying it. So the real question isn't who pays the most today, it's who can keep paying. And the number that answers that is dividend cover. Cover is simple. It's how many times over a company's earnings could pay its dividend. Around 1, and there's no cushion. Almost every penny earned goes straight back out the door. Comfortably higher than 1, and there's room to spare. Hold on to that, because it's the number this whole thing turns on. Because right now, one number makes you wonder if the cover is even there. Last year, on a reported basis, Aviva paid out more than it earned. The payout ran north of 100%. On that measure, the dividend wasn't covered at all. So, can it keep paying? Here's the answer. That's the trailing picture. Looking backwards. Forward, earnings are expected to recover sharply and the cover number jumps back to something far healthier. But forecasts are forecasts. They don't always land. Which raises a fairer question. Has Aviva ever actually stopped paying? Because it has. And this is where the bears get loud, because yes, Aviva cut its dividend. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, the regulator told every UK insurer to pause payments, Legal & General included. But Aviva went a step further. It didn't just pause, it rebased. The dividend dropped from around 30 pence in 2019 down to 21 pence the year after. That's the bit some people are hearing for the first time. And it matters. A company that's cut once, in living memory, earns a different kind of trust. But here's what the bears miss. Since that reset, Aviva hasn't just held the dividend, it's raised it every single year. 22 pence the first year back. Then a real step up as the disposals freed the cash. 31, 33, 36, 39. And this year it's forecast to reach around 42 pence. That's not a recovery anymore, that's compounding. So what turned a dividend cutter into a dividend compounder? And can it keep it up? 3 things make me think it can. First, a genuine tailwind. The market, where Aviva insures big company pension schemes, is enormous and still growing. And Aviva's one of the few players with the scale to win those deals. Then there's the cash coming back beyond the dividend. Aviva's been buying back its own shares on top, so the total return to shareholders runs higher than the headline yield you see quoted. And the third is the reset that started all this. 5 years ago, Aviva was a sprawling, complicated thing, so it sold off its overseas arms, handed shareholders back the best part of £4 billion in 2022, and refocused on 3 core markets it actually knows. The complexity's gone and the capital's concentrated where management knows what it's doing. Of course, none of that means it can't go wrong. So, what could? 3 things the sellers point at. The first is the one we just saw. That reported payout, a dividend that on paper ran ahead of earnings. The second is Direct Line. Last summer, Aviva bought one of Britain's biggest motor and home insurers, and now it has to make that deal actually work. Integration almost always takes longer than management promises, and it's betting this one in just as car insurance pricing hits a soft patch. Awkward timing. And the third is the simplest. This is still an insurer. Life insurance profits swing on long-dated bets about interest rates and how long people live. General insurance gets hit by storms, by big claims, by bad years. That risk never fully goes away. So, a covered growing dividend on a business heading the right way, which leaves one last question. Am I overpaying for it? And that's where Legal & General walks back in. Start with the price. Aviva currently trades at around 650 pence a share, off the lows it hit earlier this year, but still on a single-digit multiple of earnings. For a business this size, throwing off this much cash, that's not expensive. So here's where the two finally part company. Remember cover what a company earns, set against what it pays out. Legal & General barely clears one. It's paying out just about everything it earns. Aviva, looking forward, sits comfortably higher, around 1 3/4 times. Same sector, same kind of business, but one of these dividends has a cushion underneath it. The other really doesn't. And yes, you pay for that cushion. Aviva's is the lower yield of the two, a couple of percentage points of income given up to step down to the safer one. For me, that's worth it. The one risk I never want is a dividend cut out of nowhere, so I'll take the one I can rely on. So, Aviva on a single card. The yield, real and covered. The price, off its lows now, but still on a single-digit multiple. The cover, comfortably more than once over the number this whole thing turned on. The track record, one cut back in 2020 and a rise every year since. And the business, simpler, focused, with a pensions tailwind behind it. So, here's my honest read. If I'm putting new money in today, I lean Aviva for that cover. What would change my mind? Two numbers I'm watching. Next year's reported payout ratio and whether the Direct Line deal actually delivers. If either flashes red, I reassess. That's my read. Whether the safety is worth the lower yield, that one's yours. One last thing, if you're weighing it up for income. Aviva's next ex-dividend date falls in late August, the date you'd need to own the shares by to collect the interim, which lands a few weeks later. They're guiding to around 13 pence a share, real money turning up in the account. Not exciting, but honestly, that's kind of the point. If you want the other side of this, the higher yield, the thinner cover, my Legal & General deep dive is linked below. And if you're working through a UK dividend portfolio, one stock at a time, subscribe and come along. It genuinely helps. Until next time, happy investing.